some rough times being in a foster home. They would jump me at school and tell me, now you're from our gang. Never been in jail. I saw a lot of things that really wakes you up in there. I got shot in the head with the 38, and the next bullet missed the back of my head. I believe if that second bullet would have hit me, I wouldn't be here talking today.
Welcome to the Set Apart Podcast, where our main goal is to show you the story that God has done in the life of our guests here. And today I have a special guest. We have Hector Figeroa. Hector, thank you, man. Thank you for accepting the invitation today.
No problem.
How you been? Everything good?
Good, thank you.
Awesome. So let's get to the good stuff, Hector. Everyone has a story.
Yes.
You have a story, I have a story, but not everybody shares their story. Mm-hmm. But I firmly believe, Hector, that a story can change people's lives if God is involved in it.
Yes.
And I know that God has been involved with you in your story for many years.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you just one question, Hector. Who was Hector before knowing Christ?
Before knowing Christ, Hector was lost in a lot of drugs. I was kind of like the good guy out of my home family. My brothers used to call me Mama's boy because I would stay home and I would do like, chores and help my dad out, my mom out. So they call me a good boy. But I still was involved with drugs. One day when they kept saying stuff like that to me, I was upset, and I told them, I'll show you who's Mama's boy. So I ended up going to Hollywood with a few friends and a cousin of mine, and we did a carjack over there, and ended up shooting the guy like 6 times, and he still wouldn't give up his keys.
Oh, man.
So during that time, we took off, got lost in Beverly Hills in a 1968 station wagon that was primered. So sure enough, the cops passed us up. And I looked in the mirror, and they're coming after us, and they pulled us over and searched the car. They find nothing, and then another cop came, started searching everything and tearing up the seats, and sure enough, they found the gun that we used where we thought it wasn't there anymore. So I got left behind, and next morning they told us we were under arrest for attempted murder.
Wow.
I mean, but my life goes way beyond that. I can say that our childhood has been okay because of our parents, but it has been some rough times being in a foster home also. But getting back with our parents and then living with our parents. It was a good childhood, but like I said, as you grow up into a neighborhood where you grow up with friends, going to school, hanging out, playing. And then as you keep growing, you get involved with gangs.
Yeah.
But I never became the gang member there. What happened is many times they would jump me at school and tell me, now you're from our gang. I'll tell them, no, I'm not. So every time that we went to lunch, they would jump me again and tell me, you're from our gang. So I just kept telling them, no. My brothers did get into the gang. But as you grow up and you become a teenager and you're driving now and you have your lowriders, you drive out of the streets, and before you know it, you have other gangs that are chasing you. So you're automatically in the gang because now you got your friends that are backing you up. So that's how I grew up. So going back to the time that I had that issue where we did a carjack, I ended up doing 2 years and a half. My dad got me a lawyer. He put up the house. He really went through it. I ended up about doing almost 3 years in the youth authority. Never been in jail. I saw a lot of things that really wakes you up in there. And at the time, I started picking up the Bible too, because I never finished 9th grade. I got arrested when I was going to 9th grade, and never finished school, but that's where I learned how to read, was in jail. And to be honest with you, all those times in jail, God was with me. I ended up going to the youth authority in Chino. From Chino, I ended up going to fight fires up here in the mountains of San Bernardino, where I was the last guy from my crew, and they told me, you know what, if you don't pick it up, we're going to send you back to Chino. I didn't want to go back to Chino. It was nice being out in the mountains and fighting fires, and I really liked it. So eventually it just kept working out and doing what I needed to do, and I became this, it's called a swamper. You become the leader of your crew. And I rode up in the front with the supervisor of the fire department because now it became my crew, so I was in charge of that. They gave me a certificate when I got out. I didn't want to leave after being there for about 2 years. About 2 years. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay there. I really loved what I was doing there. And they gave me a certificate. I got out, was on parole, did my parole well, didn't get myself involved with any drugs or anything. And then finally I started getting involved with drugs because I had a brother that that's all he would do is go do house invasions, steal the drugs from other drug dealers, and then end up selling it. That was his job. He never had a job. That's the way he worked.
So you mentioned you saw a lot of things in jail, and at the same time, as you were in jail, you started reading the Word of God, right? Mm-hmm. What made you start reading the Word of God? It was because of the things that you saw that kind of like scared you, or it's just like there's the book, there's the Bible. I had nothing else to do but read.
Yeah, no, I always have believed in God since I was young. I mean, our mom took us to Catholic church since we were kids. And I always believed that there was a God. I always had a feeling that there was a God. And at that moment, I mean, I was going to church before I even got arrested for that. I was fighting my case, but I was going to church. It was at a time when I was about 17 years old when somebody came out outreaching. Victor Outreach was outreaching our streets. And there was a few friends of us, or a few of us that were hanging out in the street. And out of about 8 of us, only me and another guy stood behind to hear what they were saying. And that was the day when I received the Lord Jesus Christ into my life. Wow. So I already kind of knew him before I ended up in jail. And I knew that reading, praying, and doing right is what you're supposed to do and going to church.
You mentioned that you had a family, and then you had a foster home. Mm-hmm. How was that? Why was that foster? Because you couldn't be with your family, with your parents, or what was the...
The issue was that somebody called on my mom saying that she left us alone. And Children's Services came to the house, and they didn't find us alone. They found us there with someone, but they still took us in because of the report that somebody made. And it wasn't a good time. I mean, I was probably about maybe 10, 12 years old at the time. So we were all separated, my sister and my brother and myself. We were all separated. So I really don't recall too much, but I remember that I didn't like it at all.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, do you remember how did you feel? I mean, you were separated from your parents. You were separated from your siblings.
It was a sad time. I mean, I think that I just was wondering what was going to happen. You know, as a kid, you don't really, know what to do. So I just hung in there, and I guess my parents were fighting for us, and they finally got us out, and they got us back together. And that's when we used to live in West Los Angeles. Then we moved out to Paramount. That's where we grew up.
So how does a boy with, with a family, siblings, gets involved with gangs? I know you mentioned that they would jump you, and eventually, like, oh, I'm part of this gang. But when do you say, you know what, I am part of this gang, and I'm going to represent and do it again?
It's like I said, automatically you become from the gang because they chase you, and then before you know it, your friends that are from the gang start getting involved and start going after them. So you really don't have a choice. You're already involved. As a matter of fact, I got shot in the head with the 38, and the next bullet missed the back of my head. I believe if that second bullet would have hit me, I wouldn't be here talking today. But it went straight through the temple here and crossed it out of the bottom of my eye.
Wow. And
to this day, I can tell you that I know that God intervened for my life. There's been many times that I can tell you that today, as I look back at my life, I can see God's hand in everything that I've been through. Wow. Everything.
You got shot in the face.
Yes.
Second bullet missed your head.
That's my head.
Like I said, at the beginning, I know your story. Yeah. God's been involved with you.
Yes.
And even though you weren't doing God's ways, He still took care of you, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, right now you can say that. Like, yeah, He took care of you.
God is very faithful.
You're very faithful.
He's been patient, though. He had a lot of patience with me.
So how did that come about? How come you got shot in the face? What?
Well, what happened is we used to sell drugs. We were probably one of the ones that would sell the drugs out of the whole surrounding area where we lived. Our house was known for PCP, cocaine, and a bunch of other drugs because we had an older brother that came out of prison, and that's all that he would do. So we got involved, And that's how I got involved. I love PCP. PCP was like #1 choice drug for me. I got involved because of my brothers doing it, and then my friends doing it, and then also because of the money behind it. So that's how I got involved with the drugs. And it took me a long time to break the habit. Ended up going to jail a few times for under the influence. Really put my parents through a lot of things through that. But like I said, our house was known for the drug house of the street. Everybody would come over to party or to score. And what happened that one day, I was dreaming that somebody shot me and I was laid out on the street. And then in the daytime, when I would go out, I would feel like somebody's behind me and I would look and there would be nobody there. But I felt like something wanted to do me some harm. And then my daughter woke up one night. She was about 8 years old. She goes, "Dad, you got a hole in your eye and you're bleeding." And she was crying and crying. I took it as a warning. I ran out of drugs and I had a friend that came over and told me, "Hey, let's go get some drugs." I said, "No, I don't feel right." He knew that I was out, that I didn't have anything. But he came looking for me because I always partied with him. So he said, "I know where to get some." I kept telling him no because I already knew what I was feeling in my heart. And he kept on insisting that we go get it. So finally, I just gave up. I went with him. We ended up going to a center where there was a bunch of stores there where the security guard would sell drugs.
Oh.
The security guard. So we got the drugs from the security guard, and as we're pulling out of the driveway, some kids on a bike with the older guy started talking smack, and I talked smack back. And before we knew it, they were shooting at us. And as we're pulling out of the driveway, I got the first one here. And you know how the little trucks, you only have a one-seater and you got the window back here. So this one hit me here. The next bullet came behind the windshield, missing the back of my head, but it put all the glass in my face and put a piece of glass in my eye. I thought that night that I was going to die. My friend, I told him to rush me to the hospital. He ended up leaving me at some substation where there's police there. And we had the helicopter on us, like if we did something. So the paramedics came and I asked them if I'm going to die. I mean, it is true that your world goes before you. You think about your kids. You think about the things that you did. You feel like you could just go back and start all over again. And that's how I was feeling. It's an ugly feeling to feel like you're going to die. When you're bleeding from your eye, your nose, your mouth, you got all this blood that you're losing. But that night, I think about 6 people got shot. We ended up at Long Beach Memorial where they put us all in the hallway. And the most critical people were the ones that went in for surgery. I got left out because they felt like the bullet just went through and missed my brain.
You still have a hole in your face and you're still waiting.
They gave me a bunch of morphine there and just waited and waited. And I think about 4 guys that night didn't make it. And about 3 of us did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you know those 4 guys? Or
no, that was just random shootings that night. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You know, I got out. I thought that my life would change and I would get back to the Lord. And I did get back to the Lord, serving him and everything. And after a while, back again, back to the drugs, back to doing what I do, you know. My life was like that for a long time. And then my wife ended up having a baby. My brother got out of prison again and started having guns around and everything. And we felt like something was going to go down. So I told my wife, I said, "It's time to get out of here. It's not a good place for our daughter." So we ended up moving to Santa Ana and living in a living room for some time. And that's where my life started to change. I started going back to church, looking for a church, and I ended up finding Praise Chapel, which that's where I got saved, and that's where I came to here in City of Orange. God started blessing me, started doing well, got my own place after that. And even though things were tight, it seemed like God was meeting all my needs. And then after that, we bought a brand new car, our first brand new car. It was hard. It was hard, but I got to see how God worked in my life and brought me up from a lot of things and restored my life. And then back again, you know, we became managers at an apartment building where we only paid $200 a month because we were managers. But after a while, started dabbling in drugs again, and then we ended up losing the manager position. And we ended up coming here to Tustin to an apartment I didn't even like. But I told Lord, okay, Lord, I guess I got to start all over. And to this day, I've been living there for 25 years. I just lost my wife like about 3 years ago. She had an alcohol problem, and I really just dealt with her for many years. And there was times when I wanted to give up, but I didn't give up on her. I walked with her to the end of the road, and we did a lot of rehabilitation centers. But the last one for her was Victory Outreach Women's Home, which she's still there for about 8 months. Then she came out. She did well for a while, but then she ended up relapsing, and she already had cirrhosis, and she ended up dying on me for with the blood infection, which Kaiser did not catch. So that took her life. So it's been a rough road. It has not been easy. I think I have learned that through the troubles and trials, they're good because they make you get right with the Lord. And I just had enough, and I told the Lord, "That's it. I'm done. I'm done of paying the price. I lost too much. I gone through too much to return back to that. It cost me so much that today I don't think about ever going back to the drugs. And if I do, I tell the Lord, take me out. I don't want. I already been through it so much that it's a big price to pay, and never again."
So, for our viewers, somebody struggling to get out of the gang world, drugs, what can you tell them?
Well, the only answer that I can find is God. I mean, you're trying to fulfill your life with things that really don't matter. I mean, today, all that matters to me is my family. And you got to look and see that if you got kids, that your kids got to come first. Your family got to come first before any other things that you do. And, putting God first, everything falls down at the bottom of Him, and He makes things work out. There's no other answer from what I've had. I know I tried everything. And I tell you, I lost a lot of stuff. And when I finally just surrendered to God is when I found that my life was a lot better. I mean, there's struggles, there's challenges, there's troubles, trials, and all kinds of stuff, but it's worth it. And God is the answer. There's nothing out there. I mean, I can see why many kids end up being in gangs. It's the reason why, because they're not being loved at home. Yeah. Parents these days are doing whatever they need to do. Some are not even working. They're dependent on the system and still being involved with drugs, and they don't take care of the kids. So the kids get the love from their friends out there, and they end up in gangs. Yeah. Well, I would say that God's love is the ultimate. That's what changes lives.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Thank you. So you mentioned that you came to, if I'm not mistaken, Victory Outreach, the church? No, Victory Outreach was for your wife, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Victory Outreach was the ones that were outreaching out in our streets.
Yes. Okay. Yes. And then your current church is?
Praise Chapel.
Praise Chapel. Yes. And that's where you gave your heart to God.
That's where I gave my heart to God, yeah.
And how was that? You had enough of your whole life, and you're like, God, I need something new. I need you.
No, at the time when like I said, I was serving the Lord before I got arrested for that carjacking. Mm-hmm. I was serving the Lord, and I think at the time I was looking more for the help to get out of the situation, And I think when I came to the Lord when I was 17, it's because I was searching. I knew that He was the answer to my problems. I knew that He can help me out of the situation that I got myself involved in. And I always heard about salvation, but I was a Catholic then. And that night, like I said, I gave my life to the Lord since I was 17.
Now that you have told me about your past, what a past, man.
Oh, there's more to that, though.
I'm pretty sure there's more to that. I mean, you didn't tell me what you saw in jail, which you said, hey, I saw plenty, right? You told me about the shot in your face, the other one missing your head. Yeah. Your wife's passing. Now that you have realigned your life, with God, how has God made your life meaningful?
I have a brother that he still does whatever he wants, and has a lot of toys. Has a family, but his sons are involved with gangs. They're either getting stabbed or they're stabbing somebody or going to jail. I can tell you that my children, I am grateful and thankful to God for them because they're not in that. They have their challenges, but they're not involved in that. And I'm grateful to God because I see that as I continue to serve the Lord, He's also paving the road for them to walk on that road. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm doing today is I'm paving the road that one day my children may walk on that road. I don't see the curse upon them like I had upon my life. that is broken. If I can just break that so that they don't go through what I go through, then that's very meaningful for me. You know, God has changed me in many ways. I am a leader at my church. I do Bible studies. I've been doing it for 2 years, 8 months. I love to help people whenever I can. I love to help other churches whenever I can. I just love to serve the Lord, you know, and get involved with many things. Like I said, if I'm not doing something at my church, I get involved with another one and help them out to do whatever I can do, and just keep on moving forward and seeing the change. But God has been very grateful to me. Like I said, when I look back, I see the patience that He had with me, and I believe that there's more to come. Even though I'm searching for more, you know, you tell yourself, okay, you no longer do drugs, you no longer look at pornography, you no longer do the things of the past. So what's next? Yeah. So I know there's a reason, there's a purpose. There's a reason why my wife is not here, because I also tell the Lord, my neighbor that doesn't serve you gets to keep his wife. While I serve you, I get to lose my wife. So I don't understand it all, but I know that there's a plan and a purpose, and I just got to keep believing that God's going to do something in here in the future, you know?
Yeah.
So,
and that's a for sure thing, Hector. God has a purpose for every single one of us, right? Sometimes God lets us know, you know, the answer to our questions, and sometimes He will just stay still, stay quiet. But all I know is that whether He answers our questions or not, He's still with us.
yeah.
You know, He's still walking alongside of us, and you can testify that God's hand has been on your life.
Yes.
Ever since you were a little kid, man. Like you said, you shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
But you are. You're testifying to the world what God has done in your life. Hector, I really appreciate your yes for you to come here to this podcast, and I'm pretty sure, and I have faith that whoever sees this episode, and it's gonna change their lives.
Yeah.
Because man, we have sat people here that they've gone to jail. You know, drugs, alcohol addiction, people that were facing life in prison, right? People that saw their parents, their moms, you know, getting beat up in the streets. We've heard everything. And I know that those stories are going to change people's lives, including yours, man. So, Hector, thank you very much for accepting this invitation. Thank you very much, man.
And one more thing, if I can share, I think the biggest thing of my life that really bugs me and hurts me is losing my wife after 37 years of marriage. But I want to talk to the person that's out there that is probably going through a loss. You know, when you go through a loss of a loved one that you've been close with, and you're left behind by yourself, and you're struggling, I want to tell you that God is there for you. There's a reason and a purpose why we go through stuff. We might not like it. I don't like it. But if we continue to serve the Lord and keep going, I believe that we're going to get to see our loved ones. As I know that my wife got saved because I had a lot of experiences that God showed me after she passed that she's okay. She's in another place, and I'm grateful to God for showing me that. I want to let you know, sometimes you wonder, why do you got to keep going through these troubles and trials and all these stuff that you go through? Well, it's because the enemy doesn't want to see you be saved and doesn't want to see your family be saved. You yourself are paving the road for your family to come to Jesus. And sometimes because you are, the devil's going to attack you and going to try to make it as hard as possible so that you can quit. But the answer is not quitting, it's continuing to keep serving the Lord and watching Him do some great things, not only in yourself, but to see your family, your children come to the Lord and see their lives be blessed is the ultimate prize to see God do in them. And that's what I'm asking the Lord, is for the salvation of my children. That's why I don't surrender, even though I've gone through many things. And sometimes I ask myself the question, what if I was to lose one of my children? Will I continue to keep going after the Lord? That's a hard one. That's a very hard one. You know, you don't know till you get there. But I pray that we would continue serving the Lord and seeing Him do some great things. And we'll be praying that God changes the lives of those that are watching us, and that they come to know the Lord Jesus Christ. So thank you very much for allowing me to be here and share my testimony.
Thank you, Hector.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed our guest today, I guess, the story of our guest, and I hope that his story changes your life. But if you know that this story is gonna help that someone, subscribe and share this episode. Until next time.